European Commission is speeding up their accession plans.
Well,
Our Prime Minister has been very clear.
They'd have to be
Absolutely.
the Grand Prix
and isn't it
to be set to.
Isn't it interesting how when the EU gets in a problem, as it has with migration, anything can happen? If it suits the Eurozone to deal with their migration crisis by allowing faster Turkish accession, that is what they will do.
You see, there is a problem.
They've made that very clear.
There's a problem. Leave may well be wrong that Turkey is, quote, set to join. In other words, that it could be imminent, even by 2020, even by 2025. But there's a problem for the Remain people here. And it's to do with trusting the political elite. Because Mr. Cameron has said one thing to the Turkish people. In 2010, he was pledged to fight for their membership. He was going to be the bridge between Ankara and the EU. We've even heard from a Turkish diplomat on Newsnight last night. We thought Mr. Cameron was our chief supporter in our quest for EU membership. We are really, really flabbergasted. He's now talking about the year 3000. This goes to the heart of trust in the people who govern us, doesn't it?
I think that's a fair point. I think there's a much more fundamental question here as well, which is how we as the political class talk about immigration in the round. And
stick to Turkey. Stick to Turkey.
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing here, because, you know, Andrea hinted at it there. There's a potential of 1.2 million people in Turkey on their way to our borders now, and that is a tremendous, you know, thing for us all to consider and worry about. But we actually need to take a step back and say, EU migrants coming to the United Kingdom make a valuable and hugely positive contribution to our economy.
I want you to stick with Turkey, because that's what I'm asking you about. There's been a tendency throughout this campaign on both sides. You ask a question, then you generalise it to ground you're more comfortable on. Let me ask you this. Is it the Labour Party position that Turkey should join the EU?
Well, we're of the view that the European Union should be expanding. There are 5 accession countries with processes underway just now. As you said, Chapter 1 of 35 chapters.
No, but are you in favour of Turkey joining the EU?
I'm a passionate, proud, pro-European person. Of course, I believe in the unity across Europe. You will get a strong argument from me in that regard.
So you are in favour of Turkey joining the EU?
I don't fear greater EU migration in the way that Andrea does.
Why can't you just give a simple yes or no? Do you support Turkey's membership of the European Union?
Right now, no, because I don't believe they would pass the human rights test. Well, 35 chapters, many of the most difficult and challenging chapters are yet to be resolved, so I don't think anybody can feasibly say that the case has been made at this time.
But you're a supporter? You would want to help them?
I'm a supporter of the European Union and the idea of sharing solidarity and sovereignty across Europe.
Right, I've got one final question for you, because you said that politicians should be honest about migration. Yeah. When Jeremy Corbyn told the BBC on Sunday morning that you could have no upper limit on migration if you have free movement, which is what we have in the EU, that was honest, wasn't it?
Yes. The principle of it is
so there can be no upper
sound.
limit on migration?
Yes, and we should be honest about the value of EU migration to our country and have a much more principled stake on that.
So no upper limit? No, I don't need examples. I just want to clarify, no upper limit.
What Jeremy Corbyn said on Sunday, I believe, is right.
Right. So even if it was 500,000 net, 600,000 net instead of the current 330, there would be no upper limit. Well,
of course, there are conditions tied to that in terms of the benefits that people are entitled to when they come to this country. But the principle of it, as articulated by Jeremy Corbyn on Sunday, I believe to be right.
It's easy for you to say that, of course, isn't it? Because almost no migrants go to Scotland.
180,000, 3% of our population.
How many went in 2014?
Hang on, 20% of those live in the city that I'm proud to represent.
Sure. But
so
as
that's
a proportion,
why I'm able to say to you that the arguments for EU migration are strong.
It's easy for you to say it because, as I say, hardly any migrants go to Scotland. Out of the 260,000 net that came to Britain in 2014, how many went to Scotland?
I don't have that figure.
8,000. 8,000 out of 260,000. Why do so few migrants choose to go to Scotland?
Well, it's not the experience of the city that I represent.
No, but I've given you the figures.
I can't answer that for you. Where do most of them go? I would argue possibly London, where there is a very positive attitude towards EU migration and a great value to it. I don't think there's a sort of clear geographic divide here.
Okay.